Hey guys, I'm Tommy Lorman and I'm here today at Waves. I'd like to give you a little bit of history on the songs that I've written over the years and what are the meanings behind them. I wrote All These Monsters at the beginning of 2012 and this track is featured on our Mirrors EP, which was released on iTunes and Spotify. This was a song that I wrote about creating habits that are destructive in your life, and it almost seemed like I had no control of the situation. But the real problem is that I didn't want to accept responsibility for my actions and for the things that I had done. These habits that I began to form became destructive idols and, in a sense, monsters to me. I had so much trouble overcoming them, but in the end, I was able to defeat my demons. This was a song that was influenced by bands like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Led Zeppelin, Maroon 5, and Muse. Lead You On was written around the same time about a relationship that never really was. It was influenced heavily by One Day as a Lion, which featured members from Rage Against the Machine and the Mars Volta. This was a side project that intrigued me during my senior year of high school, and it was always something that I wanted to convey in my style of music. This kind of goes against the grain of what I normally write, going into the rap rock vein rather than staying in the pop rock genre. This song was about a relationship that never really was. Both parties were using each other and there was no substantial means to the relationship. The chorus begs and calls for some type of reconciliation, but in the end there's nothing to salvage. I remember beginning to write The Girl Next Door over at a friend's house. We were hanging out on his balcony and I had no guitar, and he said something along the lines of, "Yeah, that was the girl next door," and I put two and two together and started coming up with a melody in my head. And I told him I needed to leave, and I drove away and began writing the song at home that night. This was a song that went through so many revisions. It changed so many times, and I never felt like I really finished it. This song was influenced by James Brown, the All-American Rejects, Victoria Justice, and the Beach Boys. Eventually I finished the song, taking bits and pieces from the movie of the same name and comparing them to my friend Kevin's childhood and the location where he grew up in relation to the girl next door, as well as implementing different life scenarios from my personal life. I wrote Friday Night, the winter of my senior year of high school. I had just come off of two relationships that didn't pan out well, and the only thing that I was looking forward to was the next summer. This was a song that went through a lot of changes as well. I recorded it with a number of different bands and then used it when I played out as a solo artist after leaving Christopher Newport University in 2010. This song is your typical pop-punk jam written about the summer and the different relationships and flings that happened during that wonderful time, and it was influenced by bands like Yellowcard, Blink-182, Spitalfield, and Fall Out Boy. I remember my father came to me at the beginning of January 2012 right as he was about to leave for a business trip. My band and I had just played one of our first headlining shows at Jam and Java. We had sold the place out and we had a great set, and this was a big accomplishment for us. So he came to me and he said, "Tommy, I want you to write me a hit song." This wasn't something that I had ever really focused on or thought about doing specifically, but before he returned on that business trip a couple days later, back in my head was already written and ready to be recorded. I began practicing the song, playing it online and pitching it to a couple producers around the area, and then I finally decided to work with Tony Alani. Tony had worked with artists like My Favorite Highway, Ben Queller, and Maya, and I knew that this was the right decision at that time. This song was heavily influenced by bands like Cobra Starship, Simple Plan, Yellowcard, and other artists like Kelly Clarkson.